Captain Valera stood on the bridge of the Zyrexian warship Dread Talon, arms crossed, tail flicking with unwavering confidence. The universe feared her name, entire civilizations bent the knee, and no enemy had ever left a battlefield fully intact after facing her fleet. Yet here she was, glaring at the glowing red dot on the star map. Earth. I see hesitation, First Officer Xylor said, his spiny ridges flexing in concern. Surely, a backwater planet of primitive mammals poses no real threat? Valera scoffed. Hesitation? I am merely savoring the moment. This shall be a conquest so swift, so absolute, that future generations will sing of my dominance over these weaklings. Of course, Captain. But... Xylor hesitated, then carefully activated the classified intelligence logs. The holographic display flickered to life, a grim collection of records from past encounters with humans. The first file was a horrifying transmission, garbled screams, explosions, and finally, a single shaky voice whispering, "They don't fight fair. They don't fight normal. They fight dirty." Valera frowned. Elaborate. Xylor tapped a claw against the console. According to our spies, humans possess biological warfare capabilities beyond reason. They breathe in poisonous gases for leisure. They consume toxic liquids daily and call it recreation. Their youth trained by engaging in hand-to-hand combat in basements for sport, and the strongest among them compete in an event called Florida. A long silence followed. Valera clicked her tongue. Exaggeration. Propaganda meant to deter us. Xylor gulped and pulled up File 02, the Mogre report. The Mogre Dominion, a species of ruthless warlords, had once attempted to subjugate Earth. Their final transmission was a visual feed of their most hardened warriors running, screaming, chased by a single unarmed human clad in orange shorts and holding a can of something labeled "For Loco." The Mogre general's last words were chilling. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be controlled. They will laugh while they die just to see you uncomfortable. Valera narrowed her eyes. More nonsense. Xylor shifted uneasily. There's more. One of our deep cover agents infiltrated their network and discovered something disturbing. The screen flickered, and a human male appeared, shirtless, covered in grease, holding a sandwich bigger than his own head. The caption underneath read, "I bet you won't eat this whole thing in one bite, Dave." No bulls. Silence. Valera finally spoke. Explain. Xylor's voice was barely above a whisper. We believe their species is driven entirely by dares. They possess no fear, no instinct for self-preservation. They do things simply to see if they can. Valera exhaled through her nose. Ridiculous. Let's review their technological advancements. A moment later, the screen filled with a list of their greatest inventions. A machine capable of obliterating planets. Built twice. A device that allows them to send insults across the cosmos in under a second. A chemical weapon so powerful, one whiff can incapacitate a trained warrior. Deodorant, extra strength. Her tail twitched again. Xylor scrolled further down. They also possess something known as customer service. A method of mental warfare where they wear down enemies through endless hold music and scripted dialogue. Survivors of these encounters report permanent loss of sanity. Valera turned away from the screen. Enough. Xylor hesitated. Captain, what are your orders? Valera's jaw clenched. No one had ever returned from an Earth invasion. Every attempt ended in chaos. But backing down? That wasn't an option. She lifted her chin. We proceed. Zyrexians do not fear myths. The Dread Talon surged forward. The fleet followed. Xylor swallowed hard, gazing at the approaching blue planet. No one had ever returned from Earth unscathed. He wondered if they were about to find out why. The Zyrexian fleet broke through Earth's atmosphere, expecting resistance. Plasma cannons were primed, shields at full capacity. Captain Valera stood tall, waiting for the inevitable human counterattack. But nothing happened. No planetary defenses, no battle formations, only scattered transmissions filled with what sounded like laughter, shouting, and something called Black Friday sales. XY analyzed the signals. Captain, they are communicating in a most erratic manner. They appear to be discussing something called buy one, get one free. Valera's tail flicked in irritation. Ignore their primitive signals. Prepare for planetary descent. The fleet touched down in an illuminated city that pulsed with artificial light. The streets were packed with humans, yet instead of screaming in terror, they cheered. A burly human male in a tacky suit covered in flashing lights ran forward, grinning. Welcome, OFF Worlders! You just made it to Vegas, baby! Valera blinked. What? The human clapped his hands. First drinks are on the house. Come on, let's get this invasion started. XY whispered. Captain, I do not think they realize we are here to conquer them. A human woman in an outrageous red outfit wrapped an arm around one of the Zyrexian warriors, giggling. Oh, look at this big strong one. You boys must be loaded. Want a private tour? Valera scowled. Are they offering themselves as prisoners? The human laughed. Oh, honey, for the right price, I'll be anything you want. XY adjusted his visor, confused. Captain, I believe they have misinterpreted our invasion as some form of recreational event. More humans approached, snapping pictures, tossing shiny discs at the warriors. The Zyrexians instinctively dodged, thinking them projectiles. The humans laughed harder. One particularly intoxicated human attempted to arm wrestle a Zyrexian enforcer. The warrior, confused but unwilling to dishonor the challenge, gripped the man's hand. Within seconds, his bones cracked audibly. Instead of screaming, the human roared in victory. Hell yeah! That's a new record, baby! Who's next? Valera's eye twitched. Are they enjoying this? Another human approached, slapping a glossy pamphlet into her hand. It read, The Luxor Casino, home of the galaxy's best slots. Her fingers tightened around it. They think we came for games? XY studied the environment. Captain, I do not believe they possess a structured military response. It appears their greatest warriors fight inside enclosed buildings for coin. Valera scoffed. Their gladiatorial arenas must be primitive. XY scanned further. Actually, the highest paid combatants appear to be entertainers wearing masks and striking opponents with folding chairs. Valera's confidence wavered. This does not make sense. At that moment, a man stumbled forward, wearing a robe and slippers, holding a bright pink drink. He squinted at the alien captain. Whoa! These costumes are insane! He burped, then grinned. You guys doing a movie or something? Valera crossed her arms. No. We are here to conquer your planet. The man laughed, clapping her on the back. That's hilarious. Man, the dedication you guys have. You staying at the Luxor? They got alien-themed suites. Her jaw tightened. This is not a performance. The man leaned in. Oh, you want to stay in character? That's cool, I get it. He winked. You want to start with some handcuffs? I got some in my room. XY's visor nearly short-circuited. Captain, I believe their mating rituals involve. Valera raised a hand. Do not finish that sentence. A siren wailed, and a large vehicle pulled up. 2 uniformed humans stepped out. Finally, official resistance. The Zyrexians tensed for combat. One of the humans pulled out a notepad. All right, folks, I need to see some ID. Valera blinked. Identification? Yeah, your travel visas, alien permits, the works. If you're here for an event, you gotta register. If you're here for, The officer glanced at the towering Zyrexian warriors, their glowing battle armor, the plasma rifles still visible on their backs. He coughed. Business, we got some paperwork for that too. Valera snarled. We do not require permits. We are warriors of the Zyrexian Empire. The officer sighed, rubbing his forehead. Great. More method actors. The second officer muttered. Last week it was the LARPing Knights, now it's Space Invaders. The first officer shrugged. Vegas, man? A human cheered from the crowd. Why, oh! Can I get a selfie with the alien queen? A bright flash erupted before Valera could even react. The humans began uploading images of her and her fleet to their social networks. XY checked his scanner. Captain, they are transmitting our likeness across the planet. Her tail bristled. To intimidate their leaders? XY hesitated. No, they are gaining followers. Another drunk human waved his phone. Yo, you guys are blowing up on Insta. You got a TikTok yet? Valera hissed. I do not know what that means. A heavily bejeweled human woman clapped her hands. You guys must be new here. Come, let Mama Lola show you how to work a pole. XY froze mid-motion. Captain, we must retreat before we lose control of this situation. Valera exhaled slowly, watching as her fearsome warriors were dragged into various human festivities. One was being force-fed flaming drinks. Another had been given an I Red Heart Vegas t-shirt against his will. She clenched her fists. No planetary defenses. No military opposition. Just a species too chaotic, too unpredictable, to make sense of. Her fleet had prepared for war. They had landed in madness. Valera stormed through the neon-lit streets, her jaw clenched so tight it could crush steel. This was not how an invasion was supposed to unfold. Her warriors were supposed to dominate, not be tangled in flashing lights and human absurdities. XY hurried to her side. Captain, we must regain control. Our forces are scattered. She whirled on him. Where are they? XY hesitated. We have lost many. Her pulse spiked. Define lost. He activated his scanner. One of our heavy assault officers was lured into a place called All-You-Can-Eat Buffet. He has not returned. His last known words were, "No mere human feast can defeat," before the transmission cut off. Valera inhaled through her nose. Who else? XY checked his data pad. A group of our best tacticians was taken by an entity known as the Blackjack Table. Their current status, deeply invested. She pinched the bridge of her nose. And the rest? A loud cheering erupted from down the street. Valera turned, eyes narrowing as she spotted a massive crowd gathered around a wrestling ring. In the center of the arena stood one of her elite warriors, Commander Garin. He had once crushed entire battalions with his bare hands. Now, he was being held in a headlock by a human wearing a mask covered in sequins. The human lifted a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, this alien thought he could take on the champ, but he didn't know about the people's elbow. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause. Valera turned to XY, expression unreadable. He is losing? XY adjusted his visor. Technically, Captain, I believe this is scripted combat. They are engaged in a performance of dominance. She watched as Garin was slammed onto the mat, the audience roaring as the referee counted down. Instead of rage or humiliation, her warrior grinned, raising a fist in victory. I am learning so much, he bellowed. Valera took a very long breath. We need to regroup before. A sudden alarm blared overhead. The massive screens that littered the skyline flashed bright red with bold words. Breaking news, intergalactic invaders spotted, voted best cosplay of the year. Her fingers curled into a fist. They are making a mockery of us. XY looked over his readings. Captain, they are not afraid. She scanned the chaotic streets. Humans cheered, waved, threw more currency at them. One warrior had been reduced to a street performer, collecting tips for flexing his arms. A human female approached, shoving a microphone toward Valera's face. Queen Alien! You just landed. What's your first impression of Earth? Valera bristled. I am not a queen. I am a conqueror. The woman winked. Oh, I bet you are. Another human clapped her on the back. You're gonna own this town, sweetheart. Just wait till you hit the VIP lounges. She snapped her gaze back to XY. Are they attempting to assimilate us? XY gulped. Captain, I believe This is their defense mechanism. She scoffed. You suggest that instead of fighting us, they are absorbing us? XY nodded. They are breaking us not with weapons, but with culture, excess, and psychological warfare. She whirled on her warriors, barking orders. Regroup at the warship. We leave at once. A lone human in a cheap suit blocked her path. Now, hold on. You guys are just gonna leave without signing a contract? Think of the merchandising potential. Valera narrowed her eyes. What contract? He slid a stack of papers into her hands. I'm talking movies, sponsorship deals, your own energy drink line. Zyrexian Fury. I can see it now. XY skimmed the document. His expression darkened. Captain, I do not fully understand it, but if we sign this, I believe we will be owned by something called Disney. Valera crushed the papers in her fist. I will not be subjugated by humans. The agent winked. Not with that attitude, you won't. A horn blared, and a massive neon bus pulled up. A muscular human poked his head out, grinning. Party bus! No cover charge! Aliens drink free! The remaining warriors exchanged looks. XY paled. Captain, I fear we are losing them. She turned just in time to see more of her best soldiers, some of the fiercest fighters in the Empire, climb aboard the bus, cheering. Valera closed her eyes. She had led invasions across the stars, conquered entire civilizations. And yet here, on Earth, her warriors had fallen in record time. Valera stormed toward the warship, ignoring the pulsating lights, the blaring music, and the endless temptations humans dangled like traps. Her warriors had fallen, not by plasma fire or brute force, but to glowing screens, intoxicating drinks, and the seductive whisper of, just one more round. XY scrambled beside her. Captain, the situation is deteriorating. We are being absorbed at an alarming rate. She gritted her teeth. We leave now. Activate emergency extraction protocols. XY hesitated. Captain, they do not wish to leave. She froze. What? He gestured to the open-air nightclub nearby, where several elite Zyrexian officers, hardened warriors of legend, were now fully integrated. One twirled a human woman in his arms, another was on stage with a microphone, singing what humans called karaoke. A battle-hardened Zyrexian strategist stood beside a massive roulette wheel, eyes glowing with fanatic devotion. It is not about winning or losing, it is about the risk. Valera's eye twitched. XY flipped through his data pad. Captain, based on our analysis, human entertainment triggers a neurological reward loop. They do not need superior technology or brute force. They make their enemies want to stay. She grabbed his wrist. Then we force them back to the ship. A deep voice interrupted. Excuse me, miss. Can I see some ID? She turned to face a massive human security officer. ID? She repeated. You can't be out here with all this armor without proper clearance. We got rules. Her tail lashed. I command an armada of warships. The officer crossed his arms. Yeah? Well, I command this sidewalk. Her claws flexed, but XY nudged her. Captain, this is their bureaucratic warfare. If we engage, we may never escape. She exhaled sharply. Fine. We will abandon the weaklings and return with reinforcements. XY winced. That is also no longer an option. She whirled on him. The fleet, Captain, it is no longer operational. Her hands curled into fists. Explain. XY hesitated before pulling up live footage from the docking zone. Her flagship, the most fearsome warship of the Zyrexian Empire, now had 3 massive neon banners draped across its hull. Welcome to Las Vegas, now taking reservations. Humans were lined up outside, posing for pictures. A red carpet had been rolled out. A Zyrexian engineer stood at the entrance, scanning wristbands like a nightclub bouncer. She couldn't breathe. XY scrolled through his reports. Apparently, the humans have purchased the ship. Her vision blurred. That is impossible. The sale was finalized 40 minutes ago. She could barely whisper. How? XY adjusted his visor. A human named Elon outbid us. Silence. She clenched her jaw. We fight. XY's tail drooped. Captain, we cannot. She turned to the remaining soldiers, all blinking in sluggish confusion. One was staring at a taco as if it contained the meaning of life. Another was trying to decipher a human infomercial. XY sighed. They are too far gone. Her breath came shallow. Zyrexians did not lose. They did not surrender. Yet here she stood, her army scattered, her warship reserved for brunch. A human waiter walked by. You look tense. Want a massage? She snapped. Enough! The street fell silent. She glared at the humans, the species that had somehow turned warriors into tourists, tacticians into gamblers, and invaders into customers. A realization settled deep into her bones. Earth had never been conquered. Because Earth was the conqueror. Not through war, but through irresistible chaos. She exhaled, shoulders slumping. A man in a cheap blazer appeared beside her. So, what's next for you, sweetheart? You staying, or? She looked around. The warriors who had once followed her without question were now laughing, drinking, thriving. She sighed. Fine. But I demand extra sauce with my fries. The man grinned. You're gonna fit right in, sweetheart.